Boom, we are live, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to the Nolan Hawkeye Anthony YouTube channel. And I thank all of you for being here wherever you may be. And of course, however you may be listening. We are going to continue with our position previews for the 2022-23 Iowa Hawkeye football team. This is a way to put out some content and give you legitimate analysis on what to expect with your upcoming Iowa Hawkeye football team. And of course, we will be looking at the tight end position today. And I'm very excited about this. I love the tight end position, especially the tight end position at Iowa. I think it is as rich as any position on the roster, especially in the Kirk Ferentz era. Great personalities, great talent, definitely a position of strength. But before we get into any of that, I want to ask you to consider hitting that subscribe button. We are so close. I've said that many, many times, but we really, really are so close to hitting 1,000 subs. I can taste it. I really, really can. And again, this does not happen without your support. Iowa fans truly are, for my money, the best fan base in the country. And once we hit that, we can really start branching out into the Big Ten, maybe some other things. It'll definitely be focused on Iowa, but we can start being a little bit more creative with everything. At the very least, like, comment, share. You know the drill. I'll put the PayPal and Cash App link in the description. If you want to consider helping your boy out with his coffee habit, give your boy a donation. I thank all of you who have already given me a donation. It is much appreciated. And without further ado, let's get into this. When you start with the tight ends or bring up the tight ends, you have to first bring up Sam LaPorta. And when I did my video on who I was predicting to leave, who was I predicting to stay, I thought I was pretty much in the middle on Sam LaPorta. I thought that he could benefit greatly from returning to the Iowa Hawkeyes, but I could also see him leaving. I mean, he was definitely one of the best tight ends in the Big Ten last year. And to be totally frank, I mean, the guy has a ton of experience. He's basically started since his freshman year on campus. I would say that he hasn't had the type of growth that I expected, but it's not as though he has been stagnant either. I mean, he still has seen growth. And again, one of the best tight ends in the Big Ten, which is excellent. When he considered going pro or staying with the Iowa Hawkeyes, it seemed as though it was never any doubt for him. He thought that he could really benefit from returning to the Iowa Hawkeyes. He loves being an Iowa Hawkeye. He loves being in college. You know, he wants to finish his degree. In general, I think, as I already said, that he legitimately loves being an Iowa Hawkeye. And Sam LaPorta, furthermore, not only is he one of the top leaders on this Iowa Hawkeye team, but he is definitely one of the top 10, I would say probably top 5 players on this Iowa Hawkeye roster going into next season. From a personal standpoint, I think Sam LaPorta is a great guy. I think he's a great teammate. He's exactly what the Iowa Hawkeyes look for. Totally a hidden gem. Really, the only top tier school that noticed him was the Iowa Hawkeyes. And his story is one that really shows that once you get out of high school, all bets are off. That's why I always say that even though you can look at a guy, maybe even a top ranked guy coming out of high school, and you can say, well, reasonably speaking, he is expected to do just as well in college. I get all that, and I understand why prognosticators and fans do that alike. But the reality is, again, once you get to college, all bets are off. You never truly know how hard a guy is going to work or not work. You never know how this guy is going to adjust to college life. It is a ton of work to juggle both school and sports. And Sam LaPorta picked it up and ran with it. I'm going to pull up here Sam LaPorta's stats to show you kind of what we are dealing with here. So here's Sam LaPorta's side-by-side comparison of his 3 years at Iowa so far. In 2019, he had 188 yards, 15 receptions. He was a starter, but if I remember correctly, he was one of the top 2-3 tight ends, not the top option, but definitely up there. And, immediately overdid people's expectations. I mean, I don't think anybody expected him to come in and do what he did. And if I remember even more correctly, he absolutely showed out against USC and really showed what he was capable of. Let's see how many tubs he had. He had 0 tubs that year. That's one thing that I would say Sam LaPorta should focus on doing better with. And some of it is him, some of it is Brian Ferentz, some of it is the quarterback. But one goal I would have if I were him would definitely be to increase his touchdown total. A goal, if I were in his shoes, that I would have for myself would be to have 7 to 10 touchdown tubs for the year next year. Anything more than that would just be extra on top. But 7 to 10 would be fairly reasonable. I think it's a fairly reasonable expectation. I think if he did that, it would mean good things for the Iowa Hawkeye offense, and it would mean good things for him as well. In 2020, he had 27 receptions for 271 yards. And in 2021, he was Iowa's leading receiver as a tight end with 53 receptions and 670 yards for 12.6 yards per catch and 3 tubs. And, he did well against Kentucky. So what are my expectations for Sam LaPorta this year? Well, I mean, guys, I think he's capable of being an All-American tight end, given what we know with Iowa's coaching staff and their ability to develop the tight end. And again, you could argue that most of that was done under LeVar Woods way back when he was the tight ends coach, but I would say it was probably also a little bit of Brian Ferentz. And so we'll have to see what Abdul Hodge is able to do with the position. But a reasonable expectation would be to, at the very least, have the same total of yards and receptions that he had in 2021. Can hopefully, knock on wood, considering he stays healthy. So at the very least, 53 receptions and 670 yards. I think a reasonable expectation for him to shoot for would be a 725-yard season. And I know that's not a ton more than 670 yards, but that would put him in company with TJ Hawkinson, the Hawkman, and Noah Fant. And I would say if he could do that with 50 receptions, then he would be in really, really good shape as well, because that would increase his average per catch as well. I don't really think that that's the issue with him. I think he is a tight end who can stretch the field, and I think he can get some yak. I think, again, he could do a little bit better with yak. The 3 areas that Sam LaPorta needs to focus on improving is blocking. That everybody can always improve with blocking. The touchdowns, as I mentioned, he only had 3 touchdown passes in 2021. As I said, the goal for me, if I were in his shoes, would be to raise that from 7 or to between 7 and 10 touchdown passes. And again, 725 yards. I wouldn't be shocked if he gets into the 800 range. But again, it's hard to predict that for me, and it's hard for me to put that expectation on him because there's many other factors. If I were just predicting and putting the expectation solely on him and not the quarterbacking that Iowa has, not Brian Ferentz or any of that, I would say it was a reasonable expectation to hit 800 yards. But as long as he can equal, if not slightly eclipse, the yards that he got in 2021 and raise his touchdown total, I think he will be in really, really good shape. All right, let's move on to the next tight end on this list. The next guy that we have on this list is Luke Lachey, aka Luke Lachey. And this guy was probably one of the best tight end prospects that Iowa has landed in a long, long time. Just evaluating what he was coming out of high school, it was a huge get for Iowa to land him out of the state of Ohio. He was a 4-star guy. He has great size. He's 6'6", very athletic. If you haven't seen his basketball highlights, you should. He has all the physical tools to get there. Now, last year was a little bit underwhelming from him. I believe it was only his freshman season, his redshirt freshman season. And obviously there's some growing pains, but to be honest, you know what, now that I think about it, if you compare his freshman season with Sam LaPorta's freshman season, and it's about the same, 130 yards, give or take. That's what we pretty much saw with Sam LaPorta. So I guess if you consider that, it's not too bad. Given the fact that Sam LaPorta is on the roster, I think it's reasonable to expect Luke to be more of a blocking option rather than a receiving option. However, I will add the caveat that Iowa, if Luke shows himself capable in the passing game, they are more than happy to have a two-man leading horse, well, not horse, but two-man leading charge with Luke and Sam. We saw that with TJ and Noah back in the day, and we've seen it, with Nate Waiting and Sam LaPorta. So Iowa is more than happy to use multiple tight ends in the passing game. But again, that remains to be seen. As it stands right now, he is more of a blocking option. And to put this analysis even further, I would say it's not even a guarantee that he is for sure going to be the pure number 2 option on this Iowa Hawkeye team. I love his traits. I love his ability. And I think down the line, he is going to be an excellent tight end for the Iowa Hawkeyes. But given who they brought in and who I'm going to talk about next, I would not be surprised if ultimately Luke has a more quiet season and is not the pure number 2 option at tight end behind Sam LaPorta. The next guy on this list to discuss is transfer portal player Steven Stalianos out of Louisiana Lafayette. He's 6'5", 245 pounds. And, he's been playing college football for a little while. I mean, the guy has been playing, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. He's played 4 full seasons, more or less, and he is using his 5th year of eligibility to play for the Iowa Hawkeyes. I think, honestly, that I wouldn't say the sky's the limit for this guy, but I think that being with the Iowa Hawkeyes, given the experience that he has in college football, granted not in the Big Ten, that getting to Iowa in their weight room and under their coaching development scheme, we could see him develop into a really nice option for the Iowa Hawkeyes. He's never had more than 200 yards in a season, but in fairness, I don't know if Louisiana Lafayette uses their tight ends a whole lot. I don't even know if they pass the football a ton. So it's kind of hard to tell. He did have 4 tubs in one season, so perhaps he is a red zone threat. The best season he had was in 2019 with 21 receptions for 177 yards. I would say the second best season, it depends on what you look at as the best stat for a tight end: yards, touchdowns, or average yards per catch. 8.4 yards per catch is not great, but 177 yards is the most he's had. He did average in 2020 13.9 yards per catch. So we'll see. But I think if the Iowa Hawkeyes went after him, they like him as an option at tight end. Okay. And I trust Iowa's evaluation of tight end prospects. And I think that they saw something with him that they like. And I ultimately, he is the other option that will be battling with Luke Lachey, aka Luke Lachey, for the number 2 tight end spot. I've had people ask me if I think that Iowa will use 3 tight ends. Sure, they absolutely will and can, but how much they do that, time will tell. A lot of it will depend on how good the second and third option tight ends are for the Iowa Hawkeyes. If they are bona fide tight ends, Iowa will use them. If they're not, they'll be used more in the blocking game and tight end, and the number 1 option will be Sam LaPorta, and or only option will be Sam LaPorta. So again, it depends on these guys' development. The only thing that I am willing to for sure say is I feel very good about Sam LaPorta and him having a great season. Number 2, I like Luke's long-term projection. But ultimately, I think him and Steven Stalianos are going to battle it out for the number 2 spot. And I think, yes, Iowa will be using a 3 tight end set every now and again. How much they do of it ultimately will depend on the talent at the tight end position from the second and third option. I think that this is the last thing that I am really willing to say, and this is not even me saying that I believe it's going to happen. I think it's definitely a possibility, which is that this turns out to be a unpredicted position of strength for the Iowa Hawkeyes. This is a position that Iowa, that many on the outside might not be too high on. They might just see Sam LaPorta and that's it. And I think Iowa can maybe surprise some people at this tight end position and the production that comes out of this room for the upcoming season. It would not shock me at all if these guys end up being really, really good for the Iowa Hawkeyes. As for the other tight ends on the Iowa roster, I do think that there are some walk-on tight ends that might make some noise. I wouldn't be surprised if they did make some noise. I don't think it's likely, but I think it's possible. It's definitely worth monitoring. I have the roster right here to show you some of the walk-on tight ends to pay attention to. Let's see here. Of course, some of them might end up moving to linebacker. Andrew Lynch out of Dowling Catholic was a 3-star guy coming out of high school in the COOF season. He's got good size. And he comes from a great high school. Let's see what else. Let's see here. Kyson Van Voot is listed as a tight end. I think he'll probably move to offensive line. Either way, I don't see him seeing significant snaps for the Iowa Hawkeyes. The only other guy that I see as a possible option would be Johnny Pascuzzi out of Kansas. He went to Rockhurst in Olathe, Kansas. He's the only other guy that I see as an option as far as walk-ons go. And also I would throw in, I apologize, I would throw in Jackson Frericks. Here's the thing, guys. Ultimately, all of these guys have great size and great possibility. And it really just depends on what they decide to do with it. Iowa would not give them a walk-on spot if they didn't see room for growth and possibility to do more with the frame that they have once they add to it and once some coaching and development is put under their belt. The other 2 guys to monitor are the 2 incoming freshmen, Addison Ostranga, who was a one-time Iowa baseball commit, and Cale Vanderbush. I did a video on both of them, and I think they are both excellent tight end prospects in the future. Not right now, but in the future. I think both of them are excellent receiving threats out of the tight end position. They're going to need to learn how to block Kale will probably need to learn how to block a little bit more than Addison. Addison also played linebacker, so he's a little, he is definitely a physical tight end, but neither of these guys do I see as possibilities immediately as to contribute as freshmen. But down the line, they're great prospects. They were high 3-star guys, kind of hidden gems that the Iowa Hawkeyes found at the tight end position after Iowa swung and missed on a few tight end prospects last year in the 2022 recruiting class. And I like their upside moving forward, just not next year. Of course, anything could happen. We will see. To wrap this video up, my closing analysis on the tight end position is this, and I pretty much already said it. Sam LaPorta is one of the best players on this Iowa Hawkeye roster. I am very hopeful that he's going to have a great season. How great of a season, in my opinion, depends less on him than it does on Brian Ferentz, the Iowa Hawkeye offense, and the quarterback position for the Hawkeyes. Behind Sam LaPorta. So I'm very excited about Sam, less so about the rest, but Sam by himself, very excited. The rest, I think that the capability is there. The frame is there. The size is there. The athleticism is there in Luke Lachey, aka Luke Lackey, and Stephen Stalianos. And as I said, I think that this is a position that could end up taking Iowa over the proverbial hump, as it were, as it might turn into a position of unexpected strength for the Iowa Hawkeyes. I would not be surprised if that happens, but the only guarantee that I see is in this current group is Sam LaPorta. Everything else is it's there, it's possible, but only time will tell what ends up happening with the rest of the guys. All right, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. What do you guys think of Sam LaPorta? What type of season do you think he's going to have? Who are you excited to see as far as some of the other tight end prospects go? Let me know if you guys think that this will be a position of strength, yada, yada, yada. Last but not least, be sure to give your boy a subscribe, hit that subscribe button. We're so freaking close to 1,000 subs. I really thank all of you who have decided to get on this journey with me. At the very least, like, comment, share. You know the drill. I'll put the PayPal link in the description and PayPal link if you want to help your boy's coffee habit. And last but not least, DBAP, don't be a pussy willow. And facts are feelings, because your feelings just don't matter. See you guys next time. Go Hawks. Bye-bye.